you to remember. We fed up all your lives. You could do much better. Food prices going up too high. We can buy rice or flour. All you load up in comments and flames.
Don't touch chicken gone up. Beans gone up. Sausage gone up. Cheese gone up.
I only want to see flames. Share this video. I's a man.
Kaizo, Kaizo.
Somebody say Kaizo, Kaizo. Now if all you agree with me in this tune, I want all you to follow up the comments with flames and send this tune viral for me please. I's a man. So we vote and we vote and we vote and still back to square one. Look at people still suffering in Vietnam and John. We lose faith in the leader, and I'm not calling no names. We fed up of the lies and the dirty games. So it's right now, we have a vote, no confidence. Cause right now in the country they're doing real nonsense. Now the majority of youth decide to go and pick up guns like you're plain blind and you're deaf and dumb. Like you forget your people once you in power and you're moving evil. You had the whole place sour. And now that we discover is 2% that they offer. This is one little thing that I want all you to remember. We fed up all your lives. You could do much better. Food prices going up too high. We can buy rice or flour. All you load up in comments and flames. Finance, big shot, friends and family. So the whole of the country wants you now to stop lying. Cause the next election is a new party we voting. Like you forget your people once you in power and you're moving evil. You had the whole place sour. And now that we discover is 2% that they offer. This is one little thing that I want all you to remember. We fed up all your lives. You could do much better. Gas prices going up too high. The cost of living is getting harder. Guys, let me put in my copyright claim. I don't own the rights of the music played, neither the melody. I'm a madman. Now if all you agree with me in this tune, I want all you to follow up the comments with flames and send this tune viral for me please. I's a man. So we vote and we vote and we vote and still back to square one. Look at people still suffering in Vietnam and John. We lose faith in the leader, and I'm not calling no names. We fed up of the lies and the dirty games. So it's right now, we have a vote, no confidence. Cause right now in the country they're doing real nonsense. Now the majority of youth decide to go and pick up guns like you're plain blind and you're deaf and dumb. Like you forget your people once you in power and you're moving evil. You had the whole place sour. And now that we discover is 2% that they offer. This is one little thing that I want all you to remember. We fed up all your lives.
Now is the time! No! The time is no! No! The time is no! Now is the time to vote them out! The time is no! No! Hey! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! Now is the time for action! What time it is? No! What time it is? understand?
So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stay in your hand, it's for the UNC and the rising sun, 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 sun.
What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. Now is the time to build the nation, to seek for the children education. It's time for a leader who have a plan. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to reduce the tax. Now is the time for all crime to stop. This is the time we're not giving up.
So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stay in your hand, it's for the UNC and the rising sun, 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 sun.
What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is?
Yesterday, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. It is yesterday corridor transformation. Clearly, I mean, it goes without saying, the Tuesday night edition. And of course, we had a wonderful time on the ground report this morning, but of course, we continue, of course, tonight. And some breaking developments that was broken last night. And of course, we just given you the details tonight. Of course, there are two issues that are of concern at this point in time. And yesterday, yes, we have to deal with those issues that are considered to be of a high value, complex, but at the same time not should I say beyond our capacity to rationalize and to evaluate. That being as it may, of course, I spoke last night about the whole question of the seizure of that plane owned by Venezuela through the breach of sanction according to the Americans, and was seized in the Dominican Republic. And then, of course, we had the situation where, of course, whether or not Dr. Rowley used a ruse in order to get an opportunity to enjoy himself in the United States. Of course, I've not gotten any information as to whether or not he attended that exercise last night at the Apollo, where, of course, contingent of local artists, both old, young, in between soca and calypso, and in between all the genres that, of course, were expressed there on what I consider to be a world stage, the Apollo. I mean, a premier venue for what I consider to be significant artists, and of course, part and parcel of their career development. And every artist will want, of course, to have some kind of performance on a stage like that, quite apart from something like Carnegie Hall. But that being as it may, of course, the latest developments, well, of course, we have the situation with Maduro and of course the seizure of that plane. Let's go straight in, because you heard it first on the corridor transformation last night, but let's go straight there now.
Time though, look, I think we're seeing, and just within the last few hours, there have been some reports that the U.S. plans to sanction Venezuelan election officials that Maduro had used in order to try and steal these elections. So they are going to take other steps. The real
let me just get, of course, things in perspective. Things are not as right. Good. Right. So now I can rewind now to make certain that it makes sense,
here is,
or that you can make sense of what is happening as far as that plane is concerned. Let's go straight back to where we were at the beginning. Okay, good.
Well, Venezuela's government accuses the United States of piracy and escalating aggression after seizing President Nicolas Maduro's plane. The US says the jet was acquired in violation of sanctions, among other criminal activity. CNN's Oral Lieberman has details.
This jet was in the Dominican Republic for maintenance when U.S. authorities seized it. FBI agents flew it from the Dominican Republic to Florida. There you can see video obtained exclusively by CNN as it landed in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and was taxiing around there. It's not quite the 747 jumbo jet that the U.S. uses.
So
as
it was
Air Force
valid
One,
news last
but
night
it is,
when
according to two US
it was
officials,
told to us here,
Venezuela's version of Air Force One,
described as
used by
breaking news,
President
but of course you
Nicolas
see it on
Maduro to fly
CNN.
around
That's
to
a very
meetings and to
credible,
other
of course,
events there.
international,
According to Garland,
should
it
I
was purchased
say,
for some $13 million
media
by a
network,
shell
and
company
here it is
before
that
it was
they are
illegally flown
given their own
out of
coverage.
the country. Now, the U.S. and Venezuela have long had a frosty relationship. That's only gotten worse, perhaps even almost outright hostile since the July presidential election, the U.S. not recognizing the claimed results of that
Of
election.
course, in the meantime,
According
people
to
just
Maduro's
share,
own regime,
and
he
at
won
the
with
same
some
time,
51% of the vote. The U.S. not recognizing that.
don't
as a
forget
free
the
and
lines
fair
are
election. In
open
fact,
to
many other countries
immediately
not
337-6940
It is
because
the results
officially
or
we have
claimed
about an
results
hour,
of that
but of
election
course
that the US
unofficially
reimposed
we
sanctions on
usually pass
Venezuela's
that
oil
that
and gas
hour
industries.
deadline
Venezuela
or
said the
limit. But
seizure
that being as it
of
may,
that jet was, quote,
you have an
piracy.
opportunity, of course, in between
Warren
at
Lieberman,
any time to,
CNN
of course,
in Washington.
make your own
For more now, we're joined by
interjections.
Brett Bruin,
All right,
president of the Global
and make
Situation
your own
Group, a
commentary
private
and
consulting firm
participate
focusing on crisis
as
management
we
and
normally
international
would
security.
be.
Before that, he
And
held
of
senior
course,
positions
it
on
is
the National
important
Security
that
Council
I
and at
play
the
this
US State
particular clip
Department. Brett, it's good to see you.
and to highlight this
Good to be with
development
you, John.
because it is
Okay, so here's
connected
part
to
of a statement
something
from the US
related to
Attorney General
Trinidad.
Merrick Garland
So
on the
we
seizure
don't
of
do
Maduro's
anything on
plane.
this program
The Justice
that
Department seized an aircraft
does not
we
have
allege
some
was illegally
impact on
purchased for
Trinidad
$13
and
million
Tobago, some
for use by
relationship.
Nicolas
So we
Maduro
deal with
and
that
his cronies.
subsequently. But let's
the
hear what
Justice Department goes on to say the plane
CNN
was
has to
illegally
say.
exported in April of 2023 from the United States to Venezuela via the Caribbean. So, what, this is all just about violation of U.S. sanctions? This wasn't done to send a message to Maduro to, hit him where it really hurts, or was it a bit of both?
Well, it's all about the timing, and quite frankly, the Biden administration has been.
All right, but we have to go to the line. We have to pause and go to the line immediately because that is what we said we would do. So let's go to the line immediately. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, indeed.
And
Pleasant
to
good
all
night to
the
you as well.
listeners
Yes.
on the mainstream media, and let us share the live and share it to everyone.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
I want to be brutal tonight.
Go ahead, man.
Right?
You have my total consent and should I say agreement? Go ahead.
Because you see, when on fairness, right?
Yes.
It's handed down to people. I might be sounding loud and like a hooligan tonight, which I'll never be.
That's all right.
But I apologize to your listeners, but I want them to understand this message.
In the government understands, and of course they then cowed when they realize that there are people who are not just equally but are prepared to go beyond their obnoxious behavior. Go ahead, my friend.
Right, and when the education minister could come out and lie about the children's future and try to make dependent voters again, like in Eric Williams' time, never care if they take an education and teenage pregnancy. So they'll always be dependent on them. That is fine. But you see, somewhere along the line, the people is waking up. Right? Now, it's two things on my mind tonight. One, they go Martin, the farmers and them. Right?
Yes.
They put them out. Now, we are saying no. You get quite talk about it and all kind of thing. Good. Right? No. Heritage Petroleum. This is the one I want to focus on. On Kwame and them stinking dog who thieving out the wealth of this country. Right? And tell them, I say so. And if they want to prove it, tell them we will reach the Privy Council. Because I see through misbehavior in public office as a lawyer and a senior counsel. Right? Enough is enough. You telling me a young man in Penal, right? Right in Chalo Village here, he put out money, Mr. Lennox. Right now, we have a shortage of egg in this country. Feed prices so high, right? The young man put out the money, and it is over. When I watch the pen tonight on the news, I show that it's over 1,000 chicken that man have in that pen, right? And them chicken and them will start to lay, right?
Yes.
By Christmas, this season, this Christmas year, right? We get an egg by the end of November, December. First egg coming out of them chicken and them. I guarantee you that.
Thank you very much.
You understand?
Good afternoon,
So
all.
by Christmas,
We invited you to this
something
virtual
worse.
media.
And you know what them stinking dog in Heritage do it? They serve the man notice. to break down his pen and move him out.
Wow.
Right? But you see, when all in Pond Street, La Romaine, right? Where it have people squatting on Petrotrin land and in Coquille, where the trunk line, that is the main producing line, what is carry the oil to Pointe-à-Pierre from point 14 to Pointe-à-Pierre, right? They call it the trunk line, the main production line. That is the line where Dave Kissing and them leave open to throw the oil in the sea to say that the oil will reach Pointe-à-Pierre, right? I describe it, let me describe it that way. It had people living the yard, the cast, the foundation on top piece of it. You know, they're moving them. They're moving them, you know. I mean, the fella, look how much squatters and let me not rephrase that word squatters. Look how much occupants on heritage land in Santa Flora, Palace Seco, Las Boho, right? They're doing them nothing down there, no? Because you know why? Because of the vote and hoodwinking them.
PNM voter bank. Yeah. So that's the
right?
investment, yes.
And enslaving them. But this, the young man. And then Heritage had a program, launching about environment and green and agriculture. Here we grow, with Heritage, training for young farmers in the business, in vegetable farming and nothing. No, you see a young man. You tell me they can relocate the man and help him start over? They rather break it down and throw him out? Like if he's squatting on a piece of land that one of the group of companies who have 5 security for? No, Mr. Lennox. Trinidad and Tobago, we have to do better than that. And then I hope the listeners on this program hear that the economists tell them on the news tonight that the revenue stream is higher than what Rowley said and Stuart Young. It confirms what has been said, that the thief out the money and suffering the people. When Gaspy Dolly come out and say $5 billion, you telling me $5 billion ain't enough to fix school, and it's only 100 million she will minute. Mr. Lennox, that's to show you that people thieving and they don't really care about the people again. And just imagine, BPTT had a bid wrong. So what they bidded for when they had to sell back Piranco acreage with proven reserve of oil and gas? I wonder if it have a mafia in that sale. So we have to watch and see where we energy sector is going. People all wake up, because Repsol taking everything back again. And when Rowley called election, we energy sector, we have to ask somebody outside if they could pay tax. Good night, Mr. Lennox, and thanks for the time.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, of course, for that intervention. And you would notice, of course, things are starting to look rational, looking to develop. I mean, we started with a amorphous embryo where, of course, one would have wondered, well, why Smith is showing Maduro's seized plane? Well, of course, you see on the side of your video, Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the opposition leader. And what is in excess? Very simple. Whether it's the same plane or not, we are yet to confirm. But the fact of the matter is that Delcy Rodriguez came here on a plane that was not told to the public, and it was confirmed in breach of course, the sanctions of the United States. That was further confirmed when, of course, George Young came to the Parliament and lied to the population and say that the question of Delcy Rodriguez did not come up, only for the ambassador, unprecedented and, of course, not normal, said in public that George Young lied. The point I'm making here is whether or not Trinidad and Tobago is still under sanction watch. Sanction watch, having regard to the latest development of the seizure of that plane in the Dominican Republic by the United States, and the possibility of Trinidad and Tobago following suit, because the investigation, as the investigators in the United States have been saying, is something that has been long and drawn out, and this was the final product. But let's go straight to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Listen, good night, Mr. Lennox, and pleasant good night to the right thinking citizen of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. Lennox, it's only when you break rank, you go out there and you expose us, and for that we kill you politically.
Yes.
I say that to say, all we see going on is where the man preached to us. It's a mafia. It's a mafia running this country, and if you do your homework, you will realize, that anytime mafia is running a country, the citizens that suffer. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. You're on a path that, of course, suggests that you're talking to the converted. Go ahead, I remain silent.
Yeah. And that's exactly what is taking place in this country. And we preaching to them every night. We giving them the information. So based on what I am seeing, this prime minister trying to destabilize the country because he's going to be defeated in the upcoming general election whenever he call it. So he just making a mass and doing what he feel to do, because most of the people we just sitting back. I mean, some of them, but I would say half sitting back, rocking back, because they're satisfied with his governance, and then it have, I would say the majority of the people not satisfied with what is taking place. But being not satisfied is where we have to start to putting in place, and that's why I keep running this, and I'll run it back again for the listeners. All the new voters, make sure their ID card organized, make sure they're eligible to vote, make sure your name on the list, make sure everything's straight, because they have a technique where they're really depending on the low voter turnout, so it could be in them favor. But they'll get something else. They'll get a high voter turnout. They'll get a whitewash. So that man don't care about what is taking place. So I just say, let me bring that to your attention, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, and the last thing I would say is the code of the Cosco Nostra.
That's right.
You hear me say it?
Yes.
And this is where we living under this administration run by Dr. Evil. So, Mr. Lennox, you have a blessed one. That's all I have to say tonight.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And of course, I cannot help but of course find that clip that generated the description of a mafia by Dr. Christopher Rowley. Listen to him.
A mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank.
All right, well, I'll just pause because I want to make sure that you understand his description of what is considered to be a mafia. But courtesy Keith Christopher Rowley, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, a total rapscallion. Press a good night to welcome to the corridor.
Hi, good night, Mr. Lennox. Good night, and good night to all who are on the live chat, and good night to Trinidad and Tobago and everybody else. Good night,
Indeed.
Mr. Lennox.
Hey.
Listen, I don't know if you are aware of what's happening. And well, let me put it this way: I noticed you have something with a plane being seized by the American authorities.
Yes.
Right. So, but I think 2 nights ago I was to tell you this, and I just keep slipping my mind. I don't know if you're aware that Biden, the American president, had issued a secret letter to Maduro that he given him 5 months or else. That is the ultimatum, or else. Because the American president elections is within the next 6 months or so,
yes.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Right? So that's given Maduro about 5 months. So I'm looking at this thing very seriously, because this will have a lot of repercussions for Trinidad and Tobago, because you know when this thing start to stir up, we don't know what could happen.
Yeah, where
Because
yeah, I agree with you.
I remember what happened with Noriega.
Yes.
Remember when America walked in? What country was doing like this? I can't remember.
Panama.
Nicaragua, right? One of those
Panama,
countries.
yeah. No.
Yeah,
Panama.
and remember the Americans went in there,
Yes.
and they literally they drag him out of Nicaragua and jail him in America.
That's right.
So Maduro only had 5 months. So I'm watching to see what will happen. Based on what I saw on the news.
All right.
So
I'm
we
glad
will
that you
see.
mentioned
But take a
that.
check it and see.
Yeah,
But it's something to take a look at.
No, I'm saying I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I wasn't aware, but it seemed to be consistent with the developments that are taking place. And I want to remind people that this is as a result of years of observation and investigations. When you hear the investigating officers from the United States speak, you will get an appreciation. I don't want to put things in perspective that are not there, or indeed insert anything that is not the reality, so that when our Prime Minister and of course Stuart Young and senior officials are saying that there's no big thing, there's nothing untoward with respect to Delcy Rodriguez, and that the Americans have not seen anything except, of course, Trinidad and Tobago exercising its independence and, of course, its sovereign rights and so on. I think we better think again and pinch ourselves, because the possibility exists that Rowley and, of course, and the cabinet of this country, who are for the Americans low-hanging fruit, because anytime they can move in and do what they want, of course, it will be much more difficult in some other Latin American country, particularly where, of course, they may be in sympathy with the Venezuelans. But certainly, what Rowley and they have demonstrated is that they are in sympathy, they are in communication, they are in making arrangements, whether it be for gas, or the Manatee, or the Dragon Gas deal, or going to the OAS and not attending at all, or abstaining from voting and going to the United Nations and claiming that they have a neutral stand, but yet still talking as though they have a biased position, not talking as if they have a biased position with respect, of course, to Maduro, as opposed to any other political entity that may come on the horizon to try to bring democracy back to Venezuela. So all of these matters are there. But let's get straight, of course, to Rowley and his explanation as to what I'm asking.
Yes, Mr. Lennox, remember this man government, this Rowley, this man. Sorry.
I thought you had gone. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm saying is we have a government that is absolutely, the government has collapsed,
Yes.
right? This is a minority limping government. You understand?
Yes.
They're neither here nor there.
Yeah, lame duck, yes.
Right?
Maribon.
Yeah, the lame duck, and they know they're going to lose the elections.
Yes.
So they're doing all kind of stupid things in this country to ensure that the incoming government will have a hard time.
Yes.
You understand? But these people and them have to see blue lights and silver bracelets, you know.
Yes, of course. That is inevitable in my view. That is not just a consensus. I think it's unanimous.
Yes, and I understand there was some kind of party with the FET or something in America with the entertainer name is Marshall. Is Marshall? Yeah.
Marshall, yes.
With Marshall.
I played that.
I wonder if he was in that party.
That is what I was concerned about. That is what the topic last night was, whether or not he was truly sick, or it was a blaming sickness, calling sickness on himself just to go and party in the United States, and attempted, of course, because he was supposed to leave before independence and abandon Trinidad and Tobago on a significant night, a significant day, where we signifying that we got our independence in 1962, and that was the anniversary, and he was prepared to leave. The man is on patriotic. We have demonstrated that
Mr.
over and
Love,
over.
I'm looking to go on, but listen to me.
Yes, go ahead.
This government and this prime minister is nothing but a recipe for disaster, you know.
Of course.
You understand?
Of course.
And look, I go with that, Mr. Love. Have a blessed night, brother.
I hear you, my friend, of course, and I could sense the frustration in your voice. Not that you are going to relent, not that you are going to give up, not that you are going to abandon the cause, but because the fact that the unmitigated gall, effrontery, and the bold-facedness of Rowley and they to continue in government to pretend that somehow they have validity, I mean, is mind-boggling and is beyond human comprehension. That the people who have lost every modicum of moral and ethical standards and qualities, and of course legitimacy for governing, and then stay in office to, of course, continue their merciless escapade to bring pain, ache, agony, drudgery, and of course poverty and oppression and depression to the people. There's a special place, not just in hell, but on earth, a special jail for all of them, because they have conspired to treat Trinidad and Tobago undeservingly, unsuspectingly. We are victims of that kind of albatross type behavior that can only result in the destruction of Trinidad and Tobago if good people like us do not, of course, every night, every day, not tiring at all. Because as it is said, only when good people tire, only when good people, and I'm paraphrasing and probably changing up a bit of the what I consider the idiom, but the fact of the matter is, or the maxim, but the fact of the matter is that no conscientious, civilized citizen will watch the situation unfolding on a daily basis and intensifying as Rowley and they become more and more desperate at believing that somehow they can hold on to power by any means necessary. And as they continue, of course, in that process at the same time, to expose themselves more and more to more and more of the sycophants and the apologists who are now saying, listen, I can't defend this nonsense that is taking place, this evil that is taking place, this unnecessary hardship that has been imposed by poor policies and big talk, but poor policies and execution thereof. So that is reality. That is Trinidad and Tobago. But let's go straight to Rowley's, of course, explanation of what a mafia is.
You go there and expose us, and for that, a code, a mafiosi code.
Yes, indeed. There it is, Rowley, of course, cranking up, so to speak, to describe
a code, a mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank, you go there and expose us, and for that, we're going to kill you politically.
All right, of course, you heard that. I have to pause because we have a call. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. I'm sure that you heard Dr. Rowley's description of a mafia.
Well, boy, I can't hear you well enough. You know not a mafia. I gather you didn't see news tonight?
No, I didn't.
Boy, in Bagatelle.
Oh yes, that I saw it. I have a clipping of it. And he was down there. He's originally from there.
I know Andy from there.
Yes, and he did a wonderful job in sort of highlighting not only the history, but of course the pain and the agony that this government has plunged that farming community into, and the community in general, who clearly must be sympathetic to the farmers, having regard to the fact that over the years they might have been providing some cheap, if not free, vegetables and agricultural produce to sustain that poor area. But go ahead.
That is criminal.
Of course it is criminal.
It's the same thing Jennifer Baptiste did with Carney Green.
Yes.
When the European Development Fund sent 10 million for them. And they were bringing $1 million a year. You know what she said? That is wasting good money. Them farmers crying and the same thing when the crops ready to pick. What kind of people is them, boy?
Well, it is clear, my friend, that the
Very evil
hypocrisy and the evil that is the PNM is rapaciously, or should I say rapidly, unfolding. And what they say that they are focused on agriculture, and they had 2 agricultural ministers and all of that kind of hogwash.
All that crap.
Yeah, but you ain't doing anything in terms of agricultural access roads. You ain't doing anything in terms when they produce are subjected to floods and so on. You give them pittance and then tell them they better take that before they get nothing. Yeah, we remember the major floods. They shortchange, they either shortchange or rob the people and them. And saying that them trying to rob the government by, of course, jacking up their real loss. So they go and do the evaluation. So if it was $20, they then bring it down to about $5 and say take it or leave it.
But in what I do for the farmers in around when the quarter the pack of seeds that they pay to plant with. Like if a pack of seeds cost $20, that will you offer them?
They were showing you. That is how pathetic these fellas are and how evil they are and how criminalistic they are.
Real evil, boy.
Those are the conduct of thieves. A thief doesn't want a next person to strive better than he, Well, this entire cabinet have demonstrated that they are prepared to thief from the children, from the poor, from the downtrodden, and even kill them, as we saw, of course, with premature babies in the hospital, and the amount of murders that are taking place all over the country.
Well, I was walking through Balpark after the Mashong Carnegie, right? But I fell from India, Narasimha.
Well, yes, I remember him. He was in charge of the EMBD.
Yeah. And he made the mistake to tell me hello. And the man was about 10 feet tall. I said, who are you talking to? So I just said, I said, look here, I was not farmer boy. And you come to my song, my thing. But you walk on and see me.
Right.
Because you know me.
Yeah, of course. Citizens will take action when they believe when they believe that injustice is taking place. After all, of course, it is well established injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So you may be a martyr, but of course you will the country and the other citizens will benefit from your individual action that may be extreme, but necessary. Yeah.
Mikey had a nice program tonight.
Okay.
Very closely, If you was on the program, and cook with you.
Okay.
And from how they talk, my question was, do you think you can go it alone?
Yes.
Right? But after they said the engineer and person, listen very carefully. I tell my yes, they could go it alone.
Yes.
Because how she talk, and you know what she said, you need to campaign one day, not like you come to mind one time.
Well, of course. I mean, I have been saying that all it requires now is that we double up, triple up, do what is required in order to make sure that we get the 27 and counting seats that we require to get a constitutional majority.
And I give my reminder, you and Joshua when Kamala keep the meeting in Harvard when she was Prime Minister.
Oh, yes.
And all the people come and she puts them Prime Minister visit them.
Yes. I just sent her a picture of the baby that was in arms at the time, in her arms, and almost the big man that he is today.
I'm telling you. But what you saying is true. Campaign a little bit in the north.
That's what you have to do. I mean, we have said it, we have sung the bell, we have been motivating, we have been encouraging and so on, and that is why I don't want to hear from anybody at all. I don't care who you are. That of course we can't make and the PNM will come in. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear about Gary Griffin. If it is that he doesn't want to come on board, we simply have to do the work that is required. Yes.
What you talking about you about talking about you want to come back?
Yeah. Are you claiming 100 No, what is dishonest about it, and I go say it here, I didn't say it on the ground report this morning, but what is dishonest about it is that you're claiming 100,000 support, but it was as a result of an arrangement where, of course,
That's
the
right.
UNC allowed their support to vote for your party, where in a situation where the UNC was not contesting because of
That's
the
right.
arrangement. But if they had contested, theoretically,
Exactly.
practically, and otherwise, your votes would have been in the tens, not even the hundreds, in the tens, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 votes. How the hell you could now claim that somehow you have legitimacy to claim for that? I mean, that is dishonesty. I mean, I didn't want to say it on the ground report, but I could say it on the corridor transformation. That is a classic case of dishonesty.
A fella before say if you feel the two thing next time, keep a meeting with the NC alone.
That's right. That's all you do. Keep a meeting alone. But no, you're on social media, you're hiding all over the place and making the wrongs. Nothing different to Makela, nothing different, of course, to the others who have come and tried to enter where angels fear. And then, of course, they turned out to become obsolete at this point in time. In other words, they met their death knell on their deathbed. Politically, that is.
But gathering for what you do, but that's it,
Yes.
and work with you.
Yes. Well, from next week, I promise this week, but from next week, we will be making some calls early. I'll have to revert to 10 o'clock. I'll be making some early calls to get the views of these persons immediately. Ministers, sitting ministers, if necessary, opposition ministers, I shouldn't say ministers, but parliamentarians, and other shakers and movers that can bring some value and some what I consider to be meat on the existing meat that is there on the bone that we met back in 2015.
Right. You see, they have nothing to campaign on.
Yes. That's great.
So they're singing all about the Columbus this and Columbus that.
Yeah. That's a one-stop shop. That was a one-stop shop. Shop for Rowley. Rowley dig deep into his pernicious mind, his evil mind, and came up with that. Because why? It is a one-stop shop. It has all the ingredients that he would want. One, it is race baiting. So it has that element first and foremost. Right? It is deflective. It has the capacity to deflect. And of course, throw people's mind away from the economic realities and the crime and criminalities, because of course, remember the steel ban was forged from the irksome beginning of violence, etc. So all of those played for him, and he would have recognized that, and therefore, of course, appealed just as the banana and the monkey talk before the 2020 elections. But people have awakened, just as the Tobagonians, and they are going to deal him the blow that once and for all will, of course, send the PNM scampering to the dustbin of political history.
His sponsorship make the steel man come to something.
That's right.
Right? But here it is, my last thing I want to tell you. You remember a long time when them shops are ordinary shop.
Yes.
They had a big wood door. They called a solid oak.
Yes.
And when you put it, when you see, and there are two pieces of steel coming on, you put a crossbar.
Yes.
Nobody can break in there.
That's right.
So I think people forget vanity, with all this kind thing.
Yeah.
Behind your door, your glass on, everything.
You constantly come up with defense mechanism, including, of course, electrifying your property. I hear you.
They won't even consider that, boy.
Yeah.
And when I say 220, and he said, no. Well, you know that, like you have 220.
Well, I think that's an option for the so inclined. So it's up to you. But of course, put in other option, because options mean that you have other opportunities to consider.
That's right.
Yes.
Behind your glass door, you put your old oak door from long time.
Yeah.
But the bar behind, nobody can break through that.
That's right, exactly. That is how they used to closed bars long time. Then when I'm shopping them, the doors used to have that behind it, and that's what, and people go and sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, and all groceries.
Yes, and groceries as well. Yes.
All shops. Yeah,
Now,
you put
now
on
they say they modernize, but it's still like the more frequently breaking that.
the modernized thing where they have that to pull on how much that costs.
Yeah, and then you could just pull it, and it flimsy and flexible like maybe a macaroni. Yeah.
A macaroni that can't break down that.
That's right. All right, my friend. So, yes, my friend. Yes. Thanks very much for your intervention and your contribution. Let's get back, of course, to Rowley and his definition of a mafia.
It's the core of the Cosa Nostra. As long as we stay together, we will survive together. And we agree not to breach the code of secrecy. It's only when you break, you go there and expose us. And expose a mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's not kill you politically. It's only when you break, you go there and expose us. And expose a mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's not kill you politically. It's only when you break, you go there, you go and expose us. And expose a mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's not kill you. It's a mafia. And under a code, a mafiosi code, we keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank, you go there and expose us, and for that, we're going to kill you politically. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. As long as we stay together, we will survive together. And we agree not to breach the code of secrecy. The code of secrecy as a brotherhood of wrongdoers. If you want to save tomorrow, take action today. And if there's any government in the history of this country against which political action should be taken, it is the mafia.
Now, you see, there is a propensity by this Prime Minister to always, of course, come to the realization and give the solution to the evil that his government has been perpetrating on the people. So notice, he says that if there's any government against which action should be taken, it is the mafia, his organization. Self-confession sometimes good for the soul. And therefore, whether the gods, when they wish to destroy people like them, they send them mad, well, continue to be mad. And he will continue to deepen the madness. We will see more and more. You will be not just stunned, you will be almost to the point of exhaustion with the amount of evil that you will be seeing being displayed against our interests. But you know, all of that is to deepen the fact that they would have no excuse, no defense when blue lights and silver bracelets would have been the order of the day for all of them, the entire cabinet, but in particular this arch nemesis of the people, this arch criminal, this arch evil. And of course, I will waste no time to add immediately this rapist and pedophile. Yes, this predator purporting to be prime minister. And damn the PNM for countenancing and for projecting this evil as a panacea for not only the PNM, but for Trinidad and Tobago, that turns out to be, of course, our bane, our detriment, our destruction as a society.
It is the mafia as a brotherhood of wrongdoers.
unacceptable conduct, a lot of unacceptable waste, a lot of unacceptable corruption, a lot of tailoring things towards wrongdoing, right? That is not acceptable in the management of a country's affairs. But if I'm participating in wrongdoing, I can't really genuinely deal with you.
As a brotherhood of wrongdoers.
Yes, people, of course. So we have come there. Let's go back, of course, to CNN and that development story, because we will make the nexus between that development and Trinidad and Tobago. Whether or not we have to consider now that Venezuela's house is being wet in terms of the regime, and having regard to the fake elections that were initiated in Venezuela. And the claim, even though, of course, in such circumstance, the evidence shows that, and the evidence here includes, of course, the non-evidence, because the Electoral Council, or the EBC version in Venezuela, what we know as EBC here, their EBC in Venezuela, have failed to produce the evidence, the ballot paper, what we will call the ballot paper. And notice in Trinidad, when Rowley decidedly, constructively, and practically in 2020 did not allow independent observers in Trinidad, notice months afterwards the EBC was engaged in what? In destroying those ballot paper and so on. The evidence, in case an independent entity may want to come to visit and to examine. They engage, of course, in deploying a company called Grand Bay, based, of course, in Arima. Yes, people. And notice that ballot papers, soon after the elections, were found strewn in parts of Arima. I wonder if there's a nexus, if there's a connection. But the reality is that the EBC employed that company to export, ostensibly for recycling, these ballot paper soon after the elections. And why must we question that? Simple. It was Grand Bay that was given $5 million as soon as they came into office in 2015. I talk about the Rowley administration, to ostensibly no other company, including, of course, ArcelorMittal, and God knows they needed the support. But in both of them say to make sure that they keep their employees. $5 million US. The same company that was deployed or employed by the EBC to destroy the ballot papers of the 2020 general elections. Rowley is prepared to stay in office just as Maduro by those oppressive means. And we have a duty to monitor and to make certain that that does not happen. And we have to deploy every single opportunity, including, of course, capitalizing on what is happening in the United States now with the seizure of that plane used by Maduro. Let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night. Yes, sir. Let me just make sure, again, a little issue here. Just so. All right.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Pleasant good night.
Mr. Lennox, I was listening to the conversation I was having with the caller who hung up just now.
Yes.
Mr. Lennox, I have to say that I want to believe one of the PNM narrative is to pay these political parties we're coming from nowhere and with face to try to destabilize we party, which they cannot do.
Yes.
Because I want to recall that in the last 9 years, where Makeda Pandey was, she wasn't living here, she went there and studied. I never heard her speak out on anything, on any matter in the last 9 years. But you come just so now, your political party and everybody talking about the youths and the youth. Where you was, Rowley not doing destruction yesterday. Rowley doing destruction since the end time 2015 when they swear him in back to front.
Yeah, boy.
and the country running back to front right now. So where Makeda Pandey was speaking out on closing down Petrogen, closing down retrenching workers in TSTT, where these people was, I had to want to believe, and then up come now, only our party. So I must say, like the government, like the ruling party, like the pain all you.
And do not put it past them. Do not put it past them. They have been approaching UNC, I should say, discards, especially during the local government elections. Remember that? But of course, all of those recruits that they thought would have given them some kind of political currency failed. So they discard them and they're looking for new ones. Of course, they would have been paid off like Judas's 30 pieces of silver to, of course, betray the righteous one, the party that is geared and people-centered to advance Trinidad and Tobago. They could do what the hell they want. They could jump high, they could jump low, they could jump under, they could jump above. Kamala Prasad besested the UNC at this time to manage the affairs of Trinidad and Tobago in the people's interests, as they did between 2010 and 2015. Go ahead, my friend. Yes.
Because I listen to a program today. In the ending of the program, they run a little poll to find out why people did not vote in the two general election 2015, and all who didn't vote could call in.
Right.
You know, you ain't hear one caller call in, but not much of them calling, eh?
Yes.
But the little bit of them that call in,
right.
Here with the ball now. The vaccine, the act, they say they voted in 2015, but they didn't vote back in 2020. So the one of the hosts of the show asks, so why didn't go back and vote for PNM again? No, there was this, they didn't like Rowley decision. But if push come to shove, they go vote for Rowley. So when I listen that, right, and here I understand.
At what point they will vote for Rowley? I didn't hear that part.
If push come to shove, they didn't vote for Rowley.
Right.
They voted for him in 2015. But they didn't vote for him in 2020. They hold the vote, right?
Right.
But if push comes to shove in 2025, they would vote. If they have to vote, they go vote. Not all of them say that, because about 5 of them they use a poll with.
Yes.
And they say they will call, they might vote. If they have to vote, they go vote for Rowley again.
Right?
But the narrative I was watching, and the host of the show was on the point too. None of them call in on a voting based on the amount of murders, and I would support hold your ground, stand your ground. Or none of them call in and say high food prices. None of them call in and say the unemployment is terrible in our country. None of them call on policies. Out of the 5 of them, none of them call to say, well, I didn't vote based on policy. Yeah. And when you listen, our leader, I want to be too long, she had been bringing up policies since she in opposition. She bringing the policies to the people, because they have a narrative now where they're telling you, Kamala ain't doing enough. Kamala is doing excellent with the resources that she have. When this narrative like, oh, they have to do this, they have to do what? What they're doing with the resources that they have, based on what I am seeing, is excellent in my book. So it's about the people. If the people want, again I say it, if the people want nothing, or if they want something. The choice is them on, you know.
Yeah.
And this is why I live in West. So one more thing again, and Gary now, Gary's a fella that he's not one of my favorite. But what I would say is, when coming to security, I will always give him an opportunity. But when coming to politics, he is nowhere there to be found, because he's too close to his skin, blood thick. He's too close to his skin.
Very
not
hollow,
every dog bark, Mr. LENNOX.
or every bird fly as a dog, you have to bark at it.
Yeah.
You know that kind of way?
Yeah, you have to be
all I am
strategic.
saying is...
You have to be strategic and efficient. You don't want to waste energy. But go ahead.
Yeah, all of them who tinging, besides the UNC, they don't love this country.
Yeah.
It's either Gary don't love this country, Makeda Panda don't love this country, and this one, no disrespect with this toe, this juke woman with this toe, they don't love this country.
Yeah.
So they would come in with all kind of narrative that they have who are 100,000 support and what this. I vote for Gary in the local election because they didn't put
a UNC candidate. That's right. That's the only reason why everybody knows that.
I was going to vote for the UNC.
Yeah, everybody knows that. So why are you so damn dishonest? Come on.
Why are you dishonest? The 15,000 votes they get in the local election was UNC votes.
That's right. Tell me about.
Clayfield with stupidity, we in dotish again, you know. So I want all of them who running up and down and talking about that, this support and that support, let it continue. So that burning, you know. And if they want to continue burning, let it go ahead with the nonsense. Mr. Lennox, I want to get somebody else to take a chance.
Yes, my friend. And we have a lot to cover this night. Of course, I must comment on the 5 persons that was polled and said something to the effect that they will, of course, gravitate to the PNM. Well, in my considered view, and I'll tell you why on the back end of it, but frontally, those who would have been minded to call in response to that poll, and this is my view, I didn't conduct the poll, I didn't organize the questionnaire or anything like that, but clearly, from my experience, from the ground report, there will be people who will gravitate and answer that to give some kind of credence to the PNM because they are desperate and they know that the PNM is on life support right now. So they want to find a way to, of course, prolong the life of the PNM. So they will call in, they're minded. You see, I'm saying so because if it was a genuine caller, and we have had on the ground report, and I'm taking from the ground report experience so that I am not speculating as such in totality. So many people calling. All of them would have been bombarding that particular survey indicating, well, listen, PNM is no damn good, etc. So it had to be that the few people that are somehow of the notion that they can, of course, take the PNM off a life support would have called in there as an exercise in desperation. So don't be perturbed, in other words, that, of course, these 5 persons call in and talk as though ultimately they would have voted for the PNM. That is a skewed sample, having regard to our own experience and my own unique position and knowledge, having, of course, strewn over ground report, of course, corridor transformation, observer, and, of course, participating and being part of the organizing of Pushback 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and other initiatives such as delivery of letters to agencies in the country that we felt were being undermined and suppressed by the government. So don't be perturbed, right? Don't be even surprised as well. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
LENNOX Smith. Pleasant good night to you and everybody and live near and far.
Yes, good night to you as well.
But
yes.
I want to say before I make my contribution.
Go ahead.
Fire burn this wicked, evil, satanic, demonic PNM government. LENNOX Smith.
Yes.
I see Andy did a live today somewhere in Bagatelle.
Yes.
Where the government send the pigs and them.
Yeah.
Together with wolves to mash up acres are produced.
Yeah. That land
and
is too. That land is too fertile. That land is too fertile and strategic for poor people to be on. So they want to the Lucky Dane ask the people with that have been authorized through the regularization of squatters program to move as well. You're lucky. They go after them as well.
So Lennox.
Yeah.
So the owner of that property, the main challenging the government with that is concerned, because that is from the video that I see, that is well produced and people in the area, you know.
Yeah. Well, that area there is supposed to be regularized by the Squatter Regularization Act. Is state land generally, and I am very familiar with the area. And in fact, one of the first beneficiaries of squatter regularization was that area, and it was originally an agricultural community in the main, and continues so to do, but to a lesser extent, because much of the real estate has been taken up by, of course, residential lots. But the fact of the matter is that many of them too, as I say, being beneficiaries, meaning that they would have had deeds of comfort, many of them. But many of them would have remained on the agricultural side and continue, of course, to earn a living by that means. What this government has done today, very despicable and frankly not surprising, is to engage in an act that will take the land, but not even considering compensation. Compensation would have meant giving them a chance to, of course, harvest their crop, and at the same time, for the time that they would have kept it there for them, pay them something. And it looks as though it is not even public acquisition. It's not, in other words, compulsory acquisition, because for compulsory acquisition to take place, you must justify it. So clearly, there is no justification. There is no road to go there. There is no major institution to be constructed there or nothing like that. They just wanted to of course, try to maybe improve the housing, I don't know, and the voter bank that they would have had, because they may have some concerns that their numbers may be waning, and so they're looking for some kind of project, or more sinister and more evil, is just a finer project to waste money and to give it to their cronies in order to finish Bali's house. All of those are factors that you have to look at. These people are simply criminals.
Well, here what's going on, Lennox.
Yeah.
You see that video where you have in the background there loading up, waiting to play with that plane where American seized them in Barbados, wherever, and they have it in the States.
Yes.
I just waiting to see if one of them U.S. Marshal go be handcuffing who only coming out of that plane too. Locked on and listening.
I too, my friend. That's where we are going. Very perceptive indeed. But so, of course, let's continue with that CNN article before we get into Kamala Persad-Bissessar, who is also on screen.
Caracas, and by taking Maduro's plane, I think they have achieved a small modicum of that message, to say, symbolically, but also, for a head of state not to be able to fly around in their own private jet with all of the, John, I was looking at some of the features this jet has earlier on today. It's going to be a little bit less comfortable for Maduro on his next flight abroad.
Yeah, what sort of plane was this? I know it's a luxury plane, but what were the features?
Well, look, it's got a private bedroom. It has nicely upholstered seats and nicely finished cabin. So his trips around Latin America were a little bit more comfortable than they had been prior to the $13 million purchase of this plane. At the same time, though, look, I think we're seeing, and just within the last few hours, there have been some reports that the U.S. plans to sanction Venezuelan election officials that Maduro had used in order to try and steal these elections. So they are going to take other steps. The real question here is, will it amount to more than a hill of beans, or will it simply just be a whole lot of showmanship, as you said, in the past, that hasn't swayed the Venezuelan leaders very much?
Well, we also have this statement from the U.S. Commerce Department. Let this seizure send a clear message. Aircraft illegally acquired from the United States for the benefit of sanctioned Venezuelan
The breaking
So let's
news,
go to the next one.
some exclusive live pictures that we're showing you right now of the seized plane belonging to Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Maduro, we should note, is not on board, but the plane was seized by officials for violating U.S. sanctions. CNN's Kylie Atwood joins me now. Kylie, this is pretty extraordinary. This does not happen, obviously, every day where U.S. authorities go in and seize the plane of a head of state. But that is essentially what's happened this morning. Can you break this down for us?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the plane of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, is now in the hands of the United States. As you can see there, those images demonstrate that it has just landed in Florida. It was seized by U.S. authorities in the Dominican Republic. That is according to multiple U.S. officials who spoke with our colleague Priscilla Alvarez about this. And how this all came to fruition, Jim, is that this plane was in the Dominican Republic in recent months. We don't know exactly why, but that presented the opportunity for U.S. authorities to work with authorities in the Dominican Republic to actually make up a plan and seize the plane. And just to give folks context, this plane is effectively the Air Force One of Venezuela. This is a plane that cost about $13 million, the U.S. estimates. It's been used by Maduro to travel around the world, to make visits, to see other world leaders and the like. It's now in the hands of the U.S. government. It's an extraordinary move. The U.S. has for years been trying to disrupt the flow of goods and finances, money going into Venezuela. For example, they have disrupted luxury cars going into the country. But we should note that this is just such a bold move because, according to one of those U.S. officials who spoke with our colleague, this is unheard of and sends a signal that no one is out of the reach of U.S. sanctions. So they clearly had their eye on this plane for a while that was being used by the president of Venezuela, and now it is in U.S. custody. Now, the process here is that now that it is in the United States, Venezuela can petition for the plane, so we'll watch and see what happens there. But also, the United States can collect evidence from the plane. We just saw some folks heading into the plane, U.S. authorities heading in there with what appeared to be a recording device. They'll be able to collect evidence in terms of what the president of Venezuela was doing potentially on that plane. We'll watch and see how this all unfolds. Jim?
Yeah, Kylie, we do want to emphasize to our viewers, you are looking at live exclusive pictures right now, or almost live. It happened just a little while ago, of these law enforcement officials. These are live pictures, as a matter of fact, of these law enforcement officials sort of circling this plane, going in and out of this plane. It's landed in Fort Lauderdale right now, but as Kylie was saying a few moments ago, it was seen.
Yeah, so people, I think we have a sense as to what is happening there, but how does that relate to or connected to Trinidad and Tobago? Well, everybody should know by now that Delcy Rodriguez came to Trinidad secretively on a plane. We don't know if it is that plane. I want to confirm that. We are now looking at that to see whether that is so or not. But the fact of the matter is that that has occurred. And if it is that after all these years, when COVID would have been essentially in 2020, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, now it's between 2024. What does that mean? It means, therefore, whilst, of course, it seems to be a long time, but the opportunity would have presented itself. It wasn't, of course, landed in Dominica, seeking the Dominican Republic. I shouldn't say Dominica because there's a Dominica Island and a Dominican Republic, which, of course, is connected on the eastern side of what is called Hispaniola. It's Hispaniola, as discovered or named by the Spanish during the age of discovery, and the eastern side, the eastern side is Dominica, and the western side, of course, is Haiti. Two different societies, one dominated by French, of course, and that is Haiti, and the Dominican Republic side, which is the eastern side, dominated by Spain or Spanish-speaking people. But of course, let's go to Kamla Prasad Bisesa and get an appreciation as to what is happening. And after that, we will do some additional extrapolation. It's already, of course, 25 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. And of course, as I said, we should have finished by 9 o'clock. But we have so much things to do. So let us get an appreciation as to what is happening there in terms of how does that relate to Trinidad and Tobago, whether we are out of the woods. The opposition was claiming that exercise by Rowley in bringing Delcy Rodriguez breached U.S. sanctions. U.S. have just said that particular plane seized, the presidential plane seized because of sanction breach. It was purchased by a front or a fake company that the U.S. got evidence that of that, and therefore it effectively breached sanctions, and as a consequence, they have seized that particular plane.
Briefing on a matter I think is of grave concern for all of us in our country. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all. We invited you to this virtual media briefing on a matter I think is of grave concern for all of us in our country. In the past few days, we have continued to undertake our constitutional responsibility. We have called on government to account for their misguided and reckless actions, which could seriously jeopardize our nation. From the onset of the crisis unfolding next door in neighboring Venezuela, we have sided with the vast majority of the Western Hemisphere and the entire civilized world, who all agree that democracy and the rule of law need to return to Venezuela. We have demanded that the Rowley government provide greater transparency in their dealings with the Maduro regime. This is now even more crucial, even more critical, given that on the 26th of March 2020, the U.S. Department of Justice indicted Mr. Maduro on charges of drug trafficking, narco-terrorism, and money laundering. It should be obvious to everyone how serious these charges are and what it could mean for Trinidad and Tobago. The very next day, on March 27th, after these charges of Mr. Maduro were made, Trinidad and Tobago opened its borders. We had shut those borders due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we opened borders to allow the Vice President of Venezuela, Madam Delcy Rodriguez, and a contingent of personnel into the country. It should be noted that Vice President Delcy Rodriguez is currently sanctioned by and also banned from the US, Canada, European Union, Mexico, and Switzerland.
Yes, indeed. Of course.
We were told by the government that the reason for this visit was to discuss strategies for COVID-19. What exactly were those strategies? We were never told. The Prime Minister has not provided any details.
Momentarily, as we take the call. President, good night. Welcome. And thank you, of course, for that piece of information. Last night you broke it here on the corridor transformation. President, good night. President, good night. President, good night. All right, we seem to have lost that. I think that is the person who broke the news to us last night on the question of that seized presidential jet. But let's continue with Kamla Prasad Bisesa and to show the nexus between that occurred, of course, in the United States, emanating, of course, or beginning in the Dominican Republic, and now that plane has been seized and brought to the United States. It is now in Florida, and of course they are examining for maybe other evidence and so on. But clearly they would have known what they are doing. Of course, Venezuela is crying foul and all of that, not unexpected. But of course, no. In fact, it appears that Maduro has dug in further because they have issued arrest for the opposition candidate that from all objective analysis shows that he won the election by a large margin, some 60% as opposed to 30% from Maduro. Yet still he got, of course, the constitutional court or the courts in the land to, of course, have his way, because he would have appointed them, and they would have gone, of course, obviously reciprocating by being beholden to him. We saw something of that nature, not as blatant as it is in Venezuela, but certainly cause for concern when, of course, Rowley ignored his responsibility to impeach the Chief Justice. And, of course, we have seen, of course, during the course of the petitions, the election petitions in 2015, brought up by the opposition. And because, of course, the appeal court, which is headed by the Chief Justice, no election petition could go beyond. In other words, cannot go to the Privy Council. We saw where the court said that EBC was wrong to extend the time, and that therefore, up to the day, we don't know what really would have been the benefit to the PNM. We also knew that Rowley had communicated with the EBC chairman to extend that, so they must have had a plan. But of course, the court said, headed by the Chief Justice, that listen, yes, EBC was wrong to extend the time by 1 hour, but of course the results would have been the same in essence, and therefore the status quo must remain, and they didn't want to, of course, recall or have a renewed elections in the 5 electoral districts that were being contested. In terms of legal action having been taken by the then opposition, and still today the UNC and led by Kamla Persad-Bissessar, after several elections, to either oyster or to ratify her. Well, they have ratified her on every occasion. Let's go back to, of course, Kamla Persad-Bissessar.
Sanctioned by and also banned from US, Canada, European Union, Mexico, and Switzerland. We were told by the government that the reason for this visit was to discuss strategies for COVID-19. What exactly were those strategies? We were never told. The Prime Minister has not provided any details about this visit, in spite of multiple requests, and his own statement on the matter has provided no clarification. In fact, it is perhaps safe to say that the public remained unconvinced that the Venezuelan Vice President's visit had anything to do with COVID-19. We have not been told when the request for a meeting was made, by whom or to whom. Our country has not been told by the Minister of Health, and we should ask, was the Minister of Health or the Minister of Foreign Affairs or any health personnel from our side, was anyone present in that meeting at all, given that they told us it was for COVID-19 discussions. We have not been told what quarantine or health measures were implemented to facilitate the Venezuelan Vice President's entry. We are not told she was allowed to visit any other establishment in our country. We have not been told what, if any, discussions have been had with representatives of the United Nations who have imposed sanctions on the Venezuelan Vice President. In fact, we have been told nothing, except that this meeting was about COVID-19. The entire episode remains shrouded in deliberate secrecy. I have in my possession what purports to be a copy of a Trinidad and Tobago Form C5, which is a Customs General Declaration, content aircraft, which I presume to be a passenger manifest for a private Venezuelan flight on the 27th of March, 2020. This and other documents were sent to my mailbox by a clearly concerned citizen. I am in no position to vouch for the authenticity or veracity of these documents, but I offer them forward in the public domain to request the Prime Minister to tell us whether these documents reflect what happened on that fateful day of March 27, 2020, and the persons who arrived in Trinidad and Tobago. I would like the Minister of National Security, Stuart Young, to tell the nation that along with Madam Delcy Rodriguez, whether he provided clearance for other passengers on that flight. I have here in my possession the Customs General Declaration, content aircraft, inward-outward form. Some may call it a flight manifest. This records the arrival of an aircraft. It states that the aircraft is owned by PDVSA of Venezuela. You know, PDVSA, Venezuela being a sanctioned country, that raises serious questions. The particular aircraft, the number is given as YV
Well, of course, from what Kamala Prasad Bissesa said about the aircraft that housed, that brought Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, to Trinidad, clearly, since she said it's a PDVSA, I don't know if, that it would have been the same arrangement, but clearly from that, it appears that the presidential aircraft may have been a different one. But again, that is based on logic, based on the information we have so far. But we are going to delve and to confirm or ratify whichever way. But the fact is that Delcy was here on a sanctioned aircraft. That much we know as well. So that too would have been subjected to that kind of seizure if, of course, the Americans were aware. And what it brings me to is that Rowley and his miscreants could have caused World War III to start at Piaco. You know what I say? I say that Rowley and they could have caused World War III to commence on the tarmac at Piaco Airport if the Americans had known. Because the Americans got wind of the fact that that presidential plane, was in the Dominican Republic, and they went there and seized it. So it was a well-planned secret visit. Nobody was supposed to know. So once again, we have to credit the opposition. And I damn anybody to say that the opposition has not been doing their job or that they have not been effective. It's they who brought it out. And look how elaborate. Let's go back to Kamala Prasad Bissesa. Well done.
3360, and we would see from the U.S. Treasury press releases that this is one of the documents, this is one of the aircraft owned by PDVSA, which is under sanction. So we have these documents, and we can give you the links to those. Looking at the passenger manifest, I have both the arrival. This one is for the arrival. I printed it large so we can read it better. At the top, you'll see the aircraft number YV3360, and this is for the departure on the same day, the 27th of March. So this is what is called sometimes a flight manifest or passenger manifest. So let's take a look at the names of the passengers. And today I want to ask Prime Minister and National Security Minister, did Ms. Rodriguez have in her company, apart from the flight crew, 5 other persons on that flight? One of whom was the president of PDVSA, Asdrubal Jose Chavez Jimenez, president of PDVSA. On that flight, the passenger manifest also shows Juan Vincent Santana Migliacion, vice president of PDVSA Gas. If this is true, I don't see what they came to talk about COVID. These are people out of the petroleum company of Venezuela, the president and the vice president. Also in this passenger manifest is another person, Antonio Perez Suarez. He's the vice president of Commerce and Supply. One moment, please. The other passenger who is of interest there is Manuel Antonio Jimenez Herrera. He's an accountant of the National Constituent Assembly. But what is even more interesting, if you Google him, you will find also a director of, he's also the director of management as manager and accountant for the purposes of training, participation, accountability, delegated powers, and signing of contracts for the execution of works for the Assembly, and for necessary steps for budgetary modifications, direct payment orders, advances to peers.
So among the members of that team that came with Delcy Rodriguez are people who, if we have to use a Trinidad and Tobago equivalent, officials from the Ministry of Finance, Imbert and the permanent secretary and the director of contracts and so on. That is what has been revealed there. You see, I am saying so from the perspective that one day after they left, Paria engaged in a contract arrangement to which they confirmed to send a shipment of gasoline, according to them, to the Netherlands island of Aruba. So they say, but ended up in Venezuela. Ended up in Venezuela. Are you telling me that the Americans don't know that? Didn't know that? Well, Rowley and they are living in a fool's paradise. And all of the hoodwinking and deception and deflection that they try to soak and try to, of course, appease the Americans, exposing us to all kinds of dangers, including, of course, a new kind of crime, dismembering people. Rowley did that. When he found himself in that situation, and everybody knew, not only was he blaming, of course, the opposition has been unpatriotic. I don't know how the ass you could say somebody was unpatriotic by informing the population as to the dangers that Rowley and they have exposed us to. I say, of course, the entire cabinet and Rowley ought to be in the gallows for, of course, for what? For treason. Is the betrayer of the country? Kamala was merely warning us as she has a duty and responsibility to, and I want to thank her on behalf of everybody. If people cannot find the reasoning, the moral, the ethical, the thank you. How long we tell him about thank you, Kamala Prasad Bisasa. But he tried to make it look as though she is doing something wrong. Well, he did something wrong that caused her. And of course, clearly some whistleblowers that would have been handling that matter felt it was stink to low hell that they had to inform the opposition. That's the only way they could have gotten it. So if we only believe in that information, if we only believe that everybody in the public service, they can manipulate and is a PNM, he living in a fool's paradise once again, twice. So they got the information and they were prepared and they had every single piece of information, some of which could not have reached the opposition leader just so. Had to be some high up people in the administration of our flights and in, of course, the aerospace, if you want to call it that, in Trinidad and Tobago, in the area of treating with arrivals and departures at the airport. Let's go straight to the line. A pleasant good night. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night to you as well.
Good night, Lennox.
Hey.
Thank you so much, and good night to everybody out here. Thank you so much for putting back up that thing with Mrs. Pasabi says, sir. And as you rightly said, people need to be reminded that Kamala wasn't sitting down and scratching. She was working. She was working. And today we are still seeing all that she has been doing, the fruits of her labor.
That's right.
Right? Yeah, and I mean it's worth it. Lennox, you know, sometimes I wonder. Let me give you a little quotation from Aristotle.
Go ahead.
A fool contributes nothing worth hearing and takes offense at everything. Let me repeat that. A fool contributes nothing worth hearing and take offense to everything. And that is a perfect description of Motormouth Gary Griffith. Gary Griffith needs to pat down, right? We cannot afford Lennox, what it is that he's doing. Now, you getting on like a runaway train. You're getting on, you're not getting on like a statesman, somebody who wants to go into politics. Everything is offending you that the partnership is, the UNC is doing. You wanted to get into a partnership with them, but you are criticizing everything that they are doing. Right? Oh, good God. Pat yourself down a little bit now. And what made it worse, Lennox, is that he going up in the same constituencies as the UNC. What does he hope to achieve by doing that, Lennox? Not just split votes. Regardless if it's only 50 votes, he is going to take it away. He is, and if people don't realize what is going on in this country, something is wrong. Something is wrong. Lennox, this morning I went to pay my property tax.
Yes.
There were a lot of people there. I reached there at 6:15 this morning because I know I wanted to go early to come back early. Really at 8 o'clock, they opened the doors, we got through with everything.
All right.
When I asked the cashier, I said, can we pay this money every month? He said, no, we have to wait until we get the notification, right? So Lennox, every year now, they have to spend money now to print notifications telling you, because according to the cashier, don't know if it's going to change. I say, really? He said, yes. Serious, eh? They have to spend money now every year to reprint these notifications. When before, with the land and building taxes, we would just take the last receipt. Once you have the number and everything on it, right? You would just take the last receipt and you go on your pay. Now, you taking this big chunk of money out of our money, right? Try to make it easy for us now. Accept the money now every month now. Come in with your receipt and say, look, I want to pay this money every month. Some people did not even get their new notification. They still have the old paper with the 3% on it. When the people asking, well, when we get the new paper, will we have to pay the 10% interest? They said they don't know. So when will all you know? When will all you know what it is going on? They really just went about doing this thing, Lennox, and threatening people. The bottom line is they were threatening people into paying this property tax, right?
Yes.
And because we work hard, and Lennox, that was the war cry this morning out there with a lot of people. But I hope those same people who were so upset this morning outside here, right, that they do something about removing this government. Because people were so upset there. You know, the bottom line and the war cry was, we work hard for our homes, right? And to come and lose it now because we cannot pay property tax, which is what is going to happen, Lennox.
Yeah.
Which is what, so now you have to throw all the bills up in the air, and whichever one fall down first, however they fall, you pay it in that order. They're not taking into consideration what the electorate, I have to say the electorate, what the citizens out here are going through. And if it is that we don't wise up, Lennox, and get rid of this government and forget Gary Griffith and all of them, because they're not bringing anything to the table. They're not bringing anything worthwhile to the table. It's just a lot of hot air. Like they are all volcanologists. Only hot air and gas they're spewing. Now you're hearing Gatsby Dolly saying that there's not enough money to fix the schools and them. Lennox, I don't want to curse, you know, but I'm so tempted.
Yes. By all means.
I'm so tempted.
Control that temptation.
Yeah, control that emotion. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm trying. All these vanity projects, 56 million and counted in the zoo. And I saw that move from 56 million already.
Yeah.
Right? 80 million more to fix the Taruba Stadium. And you ain't have money to fix the schools for the children? Where all the money going, Lennox? And if all these things are not enough to open people's eyes, what is? What is? But you see, Lennox, just like Maduro want to bring Christmas on the 1st of October, he moved Christmas now to the 1st of October, right? You have Carnival in October in Tobago.
Yes.
Right? And on Saturday, they had a wet me down session in town. That is to fool the natives and them. That is to fool them. You see, they get a little wet me down Saturday, a little fat, a little jump up, a little this, a little that. They didn't care how the children was going to school Monday. Where are the parents of the schools that did not open yesterday morning? I waited whole day while I was out this morning. I didn't get a chance. I would have sent in a voice note on the ground report, right? I didn't get a chance to listen to it or whatever.
Yes.
But where are the voices of the parents that whose children did not get to go to school this morning? Yesterday morning, sorry. Where are they, Lennox? But you're hearing the rumbling on the ground. And as I told a gentleman this morning outside that Inland Revenue place this morning, I said, we citizens, have to fix this next year. I said, he said, that's true. That's true. We have to fix this next year. Lennox, this cannot go on forever.
Of course not.
And again, I call in on the people. Put all the difference. We don't need no third and fourth party, Lennox.
Of course not.
You hear?
Of course not.
If we as the citizens come out, right, unite and come out and vote out this government, we can make it. The UNC can make it. And that is the mantra from now on. And this next fool they call Michaela Pandey, talking about children are not being treated well. Where were you, Michaela, for the last 9 years? Oh, I can answer that. She was playing sucky face with Keith Rowley and campaigning with Brian Bannon and her next counselor in Labray, campaigning with PNM. PNM have our children in the situation that they are in today. And you are talking about the unfair treatment of our children in this country. You see, you're scholarship baby. You're a privileged baby, so you don't know what it is to go to school without anything in your book bag or your lunch kit. And coming now, after 9 years, to talk about the children of this country, it is too little, too late.
That's
Pay
right.
Michaela attention, no attention. Don't give her any attention. We have to concentrate on winning this election. We have to get Keith Rowley out of this. You know what? We have to put him in the opposition benches and do him the very sad thing that he was doing to Kamala Prasad and them. And we won't wait, Mark, there again, as Speaker of the House. We want a bully now, like Annie said, George. We want a bully to bully them now. The tables have to turn, Lennox. It have to turn. Lennox, I thought I'd share that with you, my little 2 cents. Take care and have a good night. Take care.
Yes, indeed. Of course, my takeaway is that it is not about vengeance per se by itself, but it is about the reality that they have done evil to us and evil cannot prevail. I want to condition the notion. I don't want it to be said that the UNC will go there like a bull in a china shop and begin to, of course, make wild accusations. No, the reality is that there are people who have to account for what they have done to the people, and there's where Rowley and his cabinet and his minions and associates will have to fall, or should I say, or put another way, the chopping block. They must visit, and of course, the consequence must be fierce. Yes, indeed. And of course, as she rightly said, all of us have a duty to act double up, triple up, if necessary, adapt and adjust to the unfolding situation that may jeopardize, may want to jeopardize the victory, the handsome victory, 27 seats and counting. So we have to do more once people like Gary Griffin and they continue with their pernicious and toxic verbalization. And that's all it is. And we must recognize it for what it is. But it has nuisance value, and we must eliminate that and all. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, and I saw you going, boy.
Well, of course, I am working as per usual. It may mean we had to double up and triple up, as I said, but that is nothing that is new to us. One, and the Lord gives you no more than you can carry. Go ahead.
LENNOX, according to the Minister of Education, right, she claiming that all the furniture from the school will move back in by yesterday. Today, I mean, for the school to have full classroom tomorrow.
St. George's you're talking about, right?
Yes, in 3 days. So, you know, she presiding over the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. In 3 days, she doing miracles. She take 2 years, LENNOX, to refurbish that school. 2 years, you know.
Yeah, 22
and
months.
You tell me 2 years and some months, and you go tell me you making this Jerry talk and telling people within a few days you go have the school operational, eh? And then people coming and attacking the member of parliament for Bartaya and saying how he making mischief. The man come and show all the truth. All the classroom are dilapidated, nasty condition. All the PNM people is about to live in blindness. I want to tell you, LENNOX, they just take tablet, suffering syndrome tablet, right? Suffering silence syndrome tablet, they're taking it, they're silent.
People have the belly, just so before you continue, people have the belly to not realize that is as a result of that expose that suddenly Dolly know that in 3 days' time, somewhat of a quasi miracle could take place. Why could it take place over the last 2 years, as you rightly say, to avoid Saddam having to meet and see that in order for her to move into action? I say, well done, Saddam. Well done, Saddam. To the chagrin and the disgust of those who cannot see right and would want to jeopardize our students. Go ahead, my friend.
And what's shocking me, these parents buying this Jerry, you know, and they say they're giving the minister the leeway. Well, they're really stupid in this country, you know. One like me, I ain't taking that foolishness. I would have been out in the front of that school, they protesting because I see another school. The same thing happened to them. And if you see the condition at that school, all the toilet and all kind of thing in operational, the place have all kind of deficiencies. And the minister ain't doing nothing. And the people went to protest, and the parents, you know, because they went to the school. One of them said the only thing that changed inside there is the toilet. Nothing in improve inside of that school. And they always have in the school being put on the list for repairs. They never repairing the school. And these people had the belly to go out there and protest in front of the school. But not the Georges people, them happy like Papi. I tell you, if anything in that school upside down, they don't take that in their back pocket because they're looking for that. People want to sit down and let other people do their thing, but they have to stand up for their rights.
Yes.
I tell you, the only thing the PNM supporters will do is suffer in silence syndrome. That's what the master will do. And the code is silence. Silence when the party in power. But when it's time to vote, they're going out and vote for the party and let it go in opposition. See like Jep. Every Monday morning they're balling and calling on this thing to change and that thing to do. It's only when they're in opposition they know what to talk, you know. But these people have to realize government is for everybody and they must put a government in it when they put them in power to account. Not because it's PNM alone. PNM and UNC, they must account. If UNC doing wrong, they have to account for that too because that is taxpayer money to squander in. And how Dolly can come and say she not no money? Where they do all the hundreds of millions of dollars pass through the Ministry of Education? They go in a sinkhole. Probably go down in the reservoir. We sink down inside there, all the money disappearing. According to you, the priorities upside down. They want to go and fix Brian Lara Stadium, where they go and carry children there to open educational institute there. Because there's a big, there's a white elephant, you know. That white killer elephant. Because it just sucking people taxpayer money in that place. And nothing in doing in there. A few cricket match. Who benefited from that? Me? Is these people on there who getting contract, them benefiting? Them getting all the money when they go and power wash and clean up and this and the other. And all them sitting on pretty and nice and everybody else, like who need things for the school, them backside of the suffer. And who need things for in the medical field, them suffering too. No tablet, no medicine, no medication, nothing at all. All they put in all their back pocket. Put in all their back pocket and let them go and vote next year or whenever. Have a good night, LENNOX.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And of course, it is said, of course, there's none as blind as he or she who refuses to see. And refusing to see, of course, is the operating word. And of course, it was Abraham Lincoln who said that you ought not to allow others to do for you that which you can do for yourself. And all of those are options and axiomatic of persons who really are conscious. But if you are not conscious, then of course you will fall victim to the dotishness and the incompetence and the indolence that is in our faces on a daily basis, purporting to be government and governance and claiming that they have the best interests of Trinidad and Tobago at heart, when in fact the opposite is the case. President, good night, welcome.
Hey, Lennox, let me
Yes.
get a parting shot before you go.
Yes.
You talk what you want to talk, so I ain't talking about that.
Okay.
When I say the extra hour was illegal,
Yes.
but you leave it too. Now, that go on to the Supreme Council.
Oh, yes.
I come out and leave it up because he ain't come on to the win,
That's right.
right? But you see all this talk, only talking about mafia. Listen, good one, tell you. The greatest movie that ever made about mafia is a movie called Never Love a Stranger.
Okay.
Don't let the name fool you. You're not always get a good movie to watch. Never Love a Stranger. You know who made that movie, Lennox? Fella called John Drew Barrymore.
Okay.
So, you just spare time to get that movie. I don't think I just
Yeah, Never Love a Stranger. I'll try to watch it tonight.
Right. Don't let the name tell you.
Yeah, so it's deceiving.
Yeah,
well, I could if it's one about mafia, I can understand, because the mafia operative would have been a stranger disguised as Rowley, and they come to you in all kind of nice flowery language, and at the end of the day, you eat the bread that the devil need. Yes, yes, that's Rowley and they.
I go to walk out the cinema when that was the second movie.
Right.
Right? I got on cinema. But I never really good. I said, I watch you all. Say, I know, sit down here, what you are debating for.
Right.
Man, I told you, never love a stranger. You get
All right, my friend. I certainly will do that tonight. Thank you for that entertainment news that I will take on board tonight. Yeah, because I had a nice rest today, just after lunch kind of thing, because I was feeling so fatigued, and maybe I could take in a movie and then prepare for tomorrow morning again when we would have another episode of the Ground Report.
Right, over there.
Yes, bye-bye.
Keep going.
All right, let's see. I have one or two things that I want to touch, except, of course, on the screen to remind you that Kamala Prasad Bisesa is talking about a sanctioned plane, the plane that Delcy Rodriguez came on, and the question must be in your mind whether Trinidad and Tobago is out of the woods. All of the shenanigans that Rowley would have played, all of the cowarding to the Americans that he would have exhibited after, of course, he sent back refugees here on a military plane back to Maduro. After, of course, he had exercises between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago's regiment or soldiers or army, whether his actions at OAS was one that clearly in favor of Maduro. He either, of course, abstained or he never went to any meeting in recent times. Of course, his conduct at the United Nations in support of Maduro is the fact that he castigated, of course, any opposition and conducted himself as though he had on blinders and only seen, of course, the illegitimate president sent, of course, an emissary, a representative, to witness a bogus, of course, inauguration of the presidency. I noticed this time around, nobody wanted to visit that because they don't want to be held accused of supporting something that is a total fake. So we have that as well. But let's go straight to the lines. And of course, when he came back from when he came back from Chile, he of course castigated the General Secretary of the OAS. All of those things he did. Yet still, he goes up to America and say that America like us. Well, not so, the ambassador said. He said that he picked up the matter with, of course, Cho Chong when he met with him about Delcy Rodriguez, which he had a duty so to do, and therefore Trinidad and Tobago may not well be out of the woods, having regard to what has happened with Maduro's personal plane and the seizure thereof as a result of sanctions. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Yes.
Good night.
Good night.
Are you ready? You hear me, God?
Loud and clear, my friend. Loud and clear. I have you on my handset. I have you on the system itself, but we are hearing you good enough.
You talking on any special topic, or you just sticking it?
No. Of course, if you are looking, you will see that the Maduro's presidential plane was seized by the United States in the Dominican Republic. It's back. It is in the United States now, and of course, I thought. What Kamala Prasad-Bissessar said about Delcy Rodriguez's plane was critical, and so I am playing that to see whether and to examine whether or not we are out of the woods in terms of sanctions by the United States, in spite of Rowley's claim that we have good relations.
There's a game between Maduro, Venezuela, and America, because they wanted Maduro to give up the election and give it to the American who they supported.
Yes.
Because they want to take Venezuela oil and gas, but Maduro up to that, so they sanction Maduro, so they see the place.
Well, there is not that. Is the question of whether the elections was legitimate. Let's not waste time. Just as how we know here that our elections was polluted.
Because declare the election legal, right? It's America who wanted to see the people oil and gas. Anyhow, we only talk so much about that.
A court that was handpicked by Maduro. Yeah, right. Go ahead, my friend.
Right here, sir. I'm listening to the parliament a few days, a while now, right?
Yes.
And here we're going on, and what I see here, right? They're censoring the opposition in the sense that they're using standing order, especially.
That's what they will do, and the speaker or the president will conform, to the wishes of the government, yeah.
Right, and the chairman of the UNC, and they don't want the UNC to tailor question and ask them questions about certain.
Yeah, protected by both presiding officers.
Yeah. The country.
Yes.
And listen to that. And so they're using the speaker and they're using the standing order, especially calling the stand to kind
of. They don't want the truth to come out, but they can't stop that. We are here, you are here. The ground report is here, so they could do what they want. It's like exercising futility. They ask is grass, and they must demit office voluntarily, or they will be elected out.
Right here, we're Colin Butt, right? He's the man in charge of the financial complex and the money, and he want to go how do you call it? This guy, he want to go currency less away.
Cashless society.
Cashless. You want to go cashless.
Yeah.
Right? Now here we're going on. These 2 points I really want to make. You see the cashless that they're talking about, and you see the property tax. Trinidad and Rowley and them have coming for them, you know. But one of the 2 things that the UNC opposing, they're opposing the cashless currency, and they're opposing the property tax. And they're also saying that they want to bring back gate and they want to bring back computer. And all that is good policy for the people, right? But one of the reasons why I call her, I wanted to know that Colin Boat, he steals a lot of money and he's still on with it. And he is the man that want to push the cashless currency.
Yeah.
Because if you push the cashless currency, you go get away with all the money with thief and have a game going on between he and Rowley. That's why Rowley want to change the coat of arms. Because this man sit down with billions of dollars that he thief.
Yes.
And he won't bring it out. And Rowley know he cannot bring it out if he change the money and change up everything in the country. So he want to beat Rowley and bring all the cashless in front. You understand? So it's a game going on between the two of them, but Rowley wouldn't scream on him, and he wouldn't scream on Rowley.
I hear you, my friend. Yeah,
The whole
because
of them
they
come
are all
together.
conspirators in the same evil agenda. Yeah, criminal
The
enterprise.
whole of them come together to shut down petrol
Yeah,
right?
criminal
And,
enterprise.
and because of Rowley corruption, and Rowley know what's going on with Colin, but that's why he ain't putting him to act as Prime Minister. And Colin but know what's going on with Rowley, but they would not scream on one another because all of them thieving. And the people suffering.
That's right.
And you know what's going on? They thieving the people pension, they want to thieve that, they're thieving the people money from buying drugs in the hospital and the thief that kind of thing. Right? And all of these things are taken away from the people and making the people life harder.
Yeah.
You know, the UNC have policy that they're saying that they're going to stop all of that. So the people don't have a choice. They have to embrace the UNC because if they don't get rid of Rowley, let me tell you something. You see down here where I live down in California area.
Yes.
If you see the size of them solar panel and the amount of place where we take and put down solar panel up there.
Wow.
You know what that solar panel for?
Yes.
We join the WEF, but I already have a plan.
Kola, just hold on. I have someone on the handset. Yes.
You hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Rowley want to see people property and Rowley want to make people poor and Rowley want to push the 1%. And that's why when they go cashless, you can't go and buy doubles, you can't go and buy, you have to go buy these big corporation buy, and everything is, you have a card.
Yeah.
So they will get all the middleman.
All right, my friend. I get it just. Thanks very much for your contribution.
So I will listen to you tomorrow now.
Yes.
What's later? I will tell the people what's going on by LENNOX.
Yes, right. That's right. That's what we try to do every night and every day.
Down.
Yeah. Failed state status. All right. Thanks very much. Of course, that was, of course, a very concerned caller from California. California and Trinidad, eh? Just want to make it clear. But, of course, let's go to the lines. Professor, good night. Welcome.
Hi, Mr. Smith. Good night to you.
Good night to you as well.
Can I speak to you off air after your program?
Yes, you can. You can call me after the program. All right.
What time is it?
I'll finish in next 15 minutes, if so long, because I've gone past my time already in 2 cents. Only an hour, so I've gone past 9 o'clock, and then I've gone past 10 o'clock now. So it looks as though I have a very lengthy, protracted program tonight. But we'll see how it works. But within 15 minutes, I may have to preempt it and continue tomorrow. All right.
Okay, thank you so very much, sir.
No problem. Yes. Yesterday, people, of course, after his and move, because, of course, we have been at this for some time, and I'm just trying to finish Kamala Prasad business. I think I'll have to do that tomorrow. Let us just take in a little piece more of what Kamala Prasad business had to say. I think this deserves 2 days rather than just one session. Let's go straight there, and when she's halfway through, I will pause, and then, of course, I will continue tomorrow night.
Administrators. So it's interesting that he's here as well. I don't see any expertise in COVID-19 or otherwise, except as a banker and an accountant.
Right, of course, I want us to, I'll give you some homework. Do your own evaluation. We're doing with an accountant and a banker in a COVID situation. Nobody from health was on the government side in Trinidad, and nobody from health on the Venezuelan side. However, there was a shipment of fuel that was supposed to be destined for Aruba. According to the officials of Paria, the fuel acquisition company, coming out of the mashing up of Petrotrin, the fragmenting of Petrotrin, and it turned out that shipment ended up in Venezuela. Clearly, the Americans would have known. So you have, of course, that sanctioned plane that Delcy came in here with under the authority of Rowley and they during COVID, when, of course, the skies were supposed to be blocked off in terms of aircraft coming in, flights coming into Trinidad. In fact, we locked out our own citizens stranded in Barbados and elsewhere in the world. But, of course, Rowley allowed that flight to come in. Next thing we know, that a shipment of fuel left whether Paria was a was used as an entrepot or as a mediator. The fact of the matter is that they have claimed that they did a transaction with somebody still mysterious and, of course, was destined for Aruba, ended up in Venezuela. Of course, I am emphasizing that because Rowley and they would like us not to remember, and they would like us, in other words, to forget. But of course, we see with this seizure of the presidential plane, the presidential aircraft of Venezuela, that the Americans, they do not forget. They're like elephants, and they are going to, of course, pursue. They are going to, of course, be as longevity as possible. But at the end of the day, justice will be served. Whether that is coming to Trinidad and Tobago sooner rather than later, I would like it to come before the elections, so that once and for all the population can again put another cog in the reality that Rowley and they seem to go to sleep and conjure up what other evil that they could manifest in Trinidad and Tobago in their own best interest to rob the people and to, of course, subject Trinidad and Tobago to a failed state scenario that is reminiscent of what is taking place and what has been taking place in places like Haiti and Somalia. That being as it may, of course, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. I'll pause here. But a lot of information coming out of this, but I want you to sleep on it, mull on it, dream on it, and of course come up with some positions on it, because the possibility that we could be subjected to the same sanctions as well is, of course, real. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow morning on the Ground Report, Andy, Mikey, and myself. And back here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. People, of course, it has been a long one, but we have to do what we have to do. Thank you very much.
Now is the time! No! The time is no! No! The time is no! Now is the time to vote them out! The time is no! No! Hey! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! Now is the time for action! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! Now is the time for action! Now is the time to cast your vote! Now is the time to start to work! Now is the time we bring your hope! Now is the time for action! Now is the time to take a stand! Cause the UNC have the plan! Put up your hand if you understand!
So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stain your hand, it's for the UNC and the rising sun.
What time it is? No! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! Now is the time for action! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! Now is the time for action! Now is the time to build the nation, to seek for the children education. It's time for a leader who have a plan. Now is the time for action! Now is the time to reduce the tax. Now is the time for all crime to stop. This is the time we're not giving up.
So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stain your hand, it's for the UNC and the rising sun.
What time it is? No! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! Now is the time for action! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! What time it is? No! Now is the time for action! Now is the time! Gentlemen! To vote them out! Now is the time! Sing it! To vote them out! Louder! Now is the time! Let them hear! To vote them out! Let the people hear! To vote them out! Now is the time! To vote them out! Now is the time!
So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stain your hand, it's for the UNC and the rising sun.
What time it is?